Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Broom Closet Talks. I'm your host, Chastity Ryan.
And I'm your other host, Brenda De Jesus.
And today we have an extra special guest. Would you please kindly introduce yourself to the audience?
Hello, YouTubers. This is Akin, and I have a YouTube channel called Manifest the Meditative State.
Awesome. So he's going to be joining us today, and we're going to be picking his brain about many things. So let's get started. So firstly, Akin, how did you get started on this path?
That's a good question. This happened approximately 8 years ago. It was a situation where I was on the 408, which is a toll highway over here in Florida. And to make a long story short, I got into an argument with somebody at the toll booth. And when I got home, I had gotten some, a 32 ounce because I grew up during the 90s and it was pretty cool drinking 40s. So, but anyway, that being said, so I went home, I started drinking, and then I started to ask, why am I so angry? And then from that day forward is when I started to slowly but surely change my mindset. I went on a spiritual journey. I started practicing meditation, and I went down a rabbit hole that's still deep to this day.
Sounds familiar. And I guess we're from the same generation because I was raised in the 90s too, so I totally get it. So are you originally from New York, or you're from Florida originally?
No, I'm originally from New York, money-making Manhattan, okay. Specifically speaking, but I also lived in the Bronx. I lived also in Brooklyn and Queens. The only place that I didn't live in was in Staten Island.
Right. So I can hear the New York accent because I'm from New York too, of course. And I'm in North Carolina now, but yeah, so like I could just tell, like when he was talking, I was like, yeah, he's a New Yorker too. So essentially this started, like you had a spiritual awakening from then on. And tell us a little bit about the manifestation part, like that you are on with this. Like what does that entail? Like for those that are not so spiritually inclined.
I started my YouTube channel back approximately about a year and a half ago. And I just woke up one morning, or should I say one night, and I was like, holy crap, let me start out a YouTube channel specializing in meditation videos, because I meditation music videos. And then the name Manifested Meditative State came to mind. And that's how I started my YouTube channel, because it deals with, generally what I deal with is manifestation techniques, meditation techniques, and also state of mind techniques. But that way that the overall individual will be able to go within and know truly that they are the ones that have the power to be able to create their own reality or recreate their own reality.
Oh, wow. So I'm an advocate for meditation. Like I've been, I have a Facebook group. Brenda's also a part of it as well. And I've always advocated for that for years. I feel like, not for nothing, I feel like meditation has literally been my saving grace. Seriously, because like I have moments where I'm an overthinker, right? Like my mind is super active. So it's always like 24/7. And the only thing that I found that had kept me centered was meditation, So Akin, tell us a little about that. Like, are your meditation techniques, are they guided meditation or?
No, how I started out meditating was I'm actually self-taught. I was just randomly searching one day, like I've searched on YouTube, all the different information that has popped up from solfeggio frequencies. But anyway, we'll talk about that more later on. I was looking at a YouTube video by Deepak, what's his name? Deepak Noor. Yeah. But at the time, I didn't know that was actually his video. So I sat down and I started watching him, and I was like, wow, that is so awesome. It was the easiest thing that I could do, but it's also the most difficult thing that you can do. because you're essentially training your mind to not be the monkey mind. So what I practice is that I practice mindfulness, and that has always been my overall meditation, as far as not well, generally speaking, when thoughts come to mind, I just focus on my breathing, and then it could just slowly but surely fade away in the back. But I started out like everyone else, sitting down. The longest I've done was an hour. And I'm telling you, when I first started meditating, I felt such beautiful energy. I mean, like energy that I've never seen before. And also the nails from my foot, the thumbnail, as far as the big toe, I don't know why, but there was always a discoloration. So once I started meditating, it was like my color came back or something like that. And then I was like, oh wow, this is definitely working. So that's how I basically started out, by watching a video, then practicing up until an hour. And then I just came on and said, I was like, you're not a monk, so you don't have to diligently do what they do, but just sit down for an hour or two and then get up with lower back issues or your legs hurting. I mean, it's been an experience.
I believe it.
So would you say that this awakening has changed your life in many ways to a positive change?
Yeah, I mean, it has taken practically, and it's going to take an entire lifetime, because this is not something that I just started out and I'm going to be like, okay, that's it. This is going to be a lifelong journey, because my thought process before all this happened, I thought very negative. I had a low understanding of myself during the times. What happened is that I started to change my thought process from it being negative to positive on a daily basis. And I've noticed that ever since then, little issues that I would pop up haven't been popping up anymore.
Right. That's interesting, right? What enlightenment can do to our lives, basically.
Yeah. Because the one thing that I found out was that throughout my many hours of watching YouTube videos and going online and researching sacred geometry, because it all ties in together. Chakras, sacred geometry, solfeggio frequencies, binary beats. But I generally use solfeggio frequencies is to enhance my meditation techniques, because it generally takes a pretty long time for somebody to get to certain levels of meditation, because meditation is essentially you sleeping while you're awake. And I've had many visions while I was during meditation, and it's amazing some of the stuff that I've seen while meditating. And I'll definitely delve in deeper with those.
Oh yeah, because inquiring minds want to know, because that literally was my next question. I was like, so what has happened during, because you just said you've been in for a whole hour, and like me personally, I know when I'm in for like 45 minutes or more, I mean, we're talking astral travel, we're talking like you're like so far off the 3D. It's not even funny. Like I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, because I've been in and I'm like, I'm not even here anymore. I am somewhere else completely. I feel weightless. Have you felt that before? Like your body, like almost like you're levitating almost?
Oh yeah. I felt my hands and my feet huge. I mean, I felt let me give you an instance of when I first started to meditate. That came later on. It was like I was breaking through. Like I would know when I'm in my meditation trance because everything in the mind's eye will black out. And then I remember seeing like silk. The only way that I can describe it is like a silk blanket. That's what I started to first see. Then after that, I started to see colors. And then after that, I got to see like, there was this one meditation that I always love. And that's not my favorite. I'll tell you my favorite in a minute. But there was this one time that when I was meditating, and this was like about 7 or 8 years ago, I'm meditating, right? So the screen, it goes up, it goes like this, and then it goes black, right? So then I'm like, okay. So then all of a sudden I started to see like in the background of the blackness, it was like leaves and stuff, right? So then I was like, holy crap, what's this? So then I saw something coming out of those leaves. And when that thing came out of the leaves, it was amazing because what I saw was a white Bengal tiger. But then when it showed its face, I've never seen a face like that ever in my life. It was like, it was with the white Bengal tiger didn't look at me in a way like a regular tiger would look at a human, which is, you know, savagery. This white Bengal tiger looked at me with wisdom, compassion. It smiled at me. I was like, holy crap. That was like
wow,
an experience. I'm telling you. A white Bengal tiger jumping out from behind and looking at me and I was like, wow. Man, it was like I felt the love and the genuine from it. Now, I do have to warn people that when they start to do meditation, because I generally do it in my car. And I've had situations that where last year and the year before that, I would see a lot of faces right as soon as I close my eyes. But that'll be for another topic.
Okay. So that's interesting. So you do it in your car. So you're just sitting there, and I guess that's your sacred space, like where you can find the silence.
Yeah, because I try to incorporate it through my Monday through Fridays because I found out that I'm sensitive. I can consider myself an empath because I can generally feel what other people feel. Sometimes when I walk into a place, I could feel certain energies and whatnot, but instead of me saying that I'm sensitive, I would say that I'm an empath. Right. So that helps me out because any little thing, I'm sensitive. Like, I know that I've learned this later on in life, but when it comes to situations at work, which would be dealing, because I work in accounting, right? And during that time, my previous jobs, and I would have to deal with people with the phone. Now, I would catch feelings when somebody else is talking to me a certain way over the phone. My customer service skills weren't there. So what I was doing basically was I was mirroring them back. But the thing is that that's not what you're supposed to do because you can get fired.
Right.
So what I've been doing is that I've been practicing in my car for the past about 4 years now. And the reason I do this is because it gives me the ability that I don't have to wake up at a certain time to do it in the morning time right before I go to work. So when I go to work, I'm dealing with, which is what I call crazies out there who drive, because we live in Florida, and Brenda can attest to this, there's a lot of crazy drivers.
Now,
I hear from her all the time.
all over the place.
Yes.
Specifically, Florida is a special type of breed of driver. It's like right as soon as the green light goes, they gun it. And if there's like a yellow light about to change, they gun it too, because in Florida, you can get trapped by those nice little cameras and whatnot. Then you got a $200 bill that you have to pay to the state. And that's the reason why I do it in my car, because it's comfortable. So what I do is that I get to the job about an hour early. Now, we all know that we're from New York, and you know that if you miss the train, you know, you're going to have to be late to work 10, 15 minutes. So I've always had that thing of getting to work early. But in this particular case, I go to work an hour early, and then I just sit there meditating, and I listen to my solfeggio frequencies, binary beats, or whomever, and that's how I enhance my meditation, which is through these meditation music videos that I upload on YouTube, which will definitely help you out reach higher states of consciousness.
Yeah, and I feel this is really groundbreaking, because usually when people incorporate meditation, it's usually they tell you to be in a room in a sacred space.
Right.
But you're doing it literally on the go in your car, which I think is, and I think essentially that's really helpful for a lot of people who don't have the time to really, you know, find a meditation space or anything like that, or if they just want to center and they're like on, like you said, they're all, you know, getting ready to commute to work and things like that. So when you're doing this in your car, let's say like in the morning and yet like before you go to work, like more or less how long would the meditation be?
Would it be for about 50 minutes? Because I generally go to the job about 10 minutes early, for that way I could get myself settled in and whatnot. But that's what I do. I also have to make a disclaimer, because one of my meditation teachers said it, that it's not that good. Well, if you're a beginner,
right, that's what I meant for beginners, for newbies to this. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That is not that great for you to do it out in the open, because essentially what happens is, we already know that we live in a 3D world, and then there's a spiritual realm. Mm-hmm. Now, in that realm, when somebody meditates, it's like they're like a moth. It's like a moth and a light. You're the light, and the moths come to the light. So you run the risk of
being infiltrated.
Right. I totally know
getting
what you
attachments
mean.
to
Absolutely.
Because once you get deeper into meditation, and then at least when I got deeper, I started to understand about the auras and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And that there's different, I would have to say, different levels of your consciousness. Mm-hmm. And sometimes these things, whatever it is that you want to call it, they get attracted to you, and then you run the risk of having that attachment to you. But that being said, it doesn't scare me or anything like that, because because in the beginning, back when I was in 5th grade in the 80s, I did Santeria. Well, they did Santeria to me. So essentially, I've been in the spiritual type of world since I was young. So it's not like that the stuff that I see during meditation, it doesn't scare me. For the beginner who's never experienced anything like this, you have to be very careful that it can scare the crap out of you, literally. I mean, I seen an alien face, and it was funny because I was laughing. In one of my meditation sessions, I was seeing an alien face, and the alien face was like this. It was coming towards me, and then it was spitting. And that's the part of that got me laughing. And then I was like, yo, it's funny. I was like, take it easy, because, you know, the alien faces, they're kind of like really grotesque, ugly. So, you know, I thought to myself, I'm like, yo, take it easy. You know, or if you want to talk or whatever it is, just take it easy. And then I remember it just going back like that. Some of the stuff that I seen during meditation is, it was incredible. So I want the people to know that when they start to do this practice, essentially what you're doing is that you're tapping into another realm, which is what every human being has the ability to do. But the powers that be, for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, because I believe that we are not made of amino acids or anything like that, but we are a God as far as in human form, because each and every one of us that's born on this planet have a soul, and this soul is eternal, and the soul comes from a part of God. The only way that I can let the viewer know is that if they watch which one is it, the first one or the second one, Guardians of the Galaxy, where Kurt Russell was the father. You'll see now he went around and
he was a god, yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's essentially what we are. We are God in human form, having experiences, and then essentially what we do is that we go through these sufferings in order for us to spiritually grow and eventually get back to the source, which is God. Right now, we're supposed to be in the third dimension, and pretty soon we're going to be heading to the fourth dimension, which is going to be humans being able to tap into the telekinesis, because we have so much ability, so many powers that it's ridiculous. But like I said before, the powers that be kind of like took that away from us, you know? This is all the stuff that I've gathered throughout the 8 years, because I've read so much and I've seen so much that it is incredible. It's incredible that the world that we live in.
Right. And it's like, once you develop this awareness, it's like you can't really go back, you know, to what I call, you know, the muggle life, you know, like muggles in Harry Potter. Once you know, develop this self-awareness and, you know, your connection to source, you know, through meditative state, alternate states, you know, even through psychic phenomenon, it's like you can't go back to being under, you know, below the veil of consciousness, because you already know now.
And
so,
it's very difficult. It's like, you know, walking all over the place in the darkness. It would be very hard to go back to that when you already seen the light. You know, you already know what things look like in light. So I don't think it would be easy to go backwards if you wanted to. And for that I've known that have tried to get out of it, have had a hard time with it, because even though you try to shut out, there are spiritual entities that know that you have the light and will attack you, basically. So, you know,
because you're a conduit now. Now you're a conduit. They're aware that you've opened that up within yourself. So you're going to attract, whether you want to close it off or not. And I think essentially when people open this part of themselves, you know, it's like, you know, because now a lot of it is, you know, woke culture, you know, I want to be woke, I want to be spiritual. But then when they realize the shadow aspects of it, and this is something I always emphasize, Brenda, you already know, like part of my teachings is to understand that with the light comes the dark. On a spiritual path, you're going to see unpleasant things, have unpleasant experiences, you know, and be forced to face your own personal demons, as well as those of others, especially, you know, we're readers. So when we read others, we're going to see the demons of others as well. So not only we're seeing our own, but experiencing others. So this is the thing that people don't realize comes with a spiritual awakening. They think, like, oh, you know, I'm going to light some sage, I'm going to carry some crystals and buy a deck of cards, I'm spiritual now. And it don't work that way. There's so much more to it, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, and
crystals, candles, and sage that will not keep
it's not enough. And, you know,
it's like mindful and also responsible on how far you go into this awakening.
Exactly. And working with meditation in particular, and I'm glad you really emphasized on this, Akin, because it's not for the faint of heart. People just think it's like, and you're just there and you're just clearing your mind, but they don't understand that when you're in that state, it's an altered state. And you're literally transcending from 3D to 4D and higher states of consciousness. Like I said, depending how long you're in, like I said, there's been moments where I know I was past like 4D, you know what I mean? And like I said, it's not for, and for those of us like that are empaths, I'm an empath as well. Brenda, you are too. For those that are highly sensitive, like you said, you know, you have to be mindful, because you're literally a conduit, you're a sponge, and you're going to be sucking up things around you while you're in there. So with that being said, I have a question.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your best shielding technique while you're in a meditative state as someone who's an empath? Like, what do you do to protect yourself from things coming in?
That's a good question. And I wanted it to touch, before I answer that question, I wanted it to touch base with what you had mentioned earlier about shadow work.
Yes.
Shadow work is something that each and every one of us will be working on when you start doing meditation. And basically, essentially what shadow work is that you're tapping into these feelings that were dormant from way back when that you had to release. So shadow work is a big part of meditation because it essentially touches every single aspect of your mind or whatever it is but that you want to call it. But that being said, as far as the shielding techniques is concerned, generally I would imagine that I'm either surrounded by, like, let's say, for instance, I sometimes imagine that I have 2 tigers, 2 lions, and a dragon with me.
Okay.
Or in some other situations, I'll just go on ahead and I would just make believe that I have like a force field around me. But that hasn't, I generally don't worry about that too much because I'm at a stage now that where, like I said, the faces that I used to see when I go to sleep, I don't hardly see them anymore. And there was a whole bunch of faces I used to see. I've seen, there was this one face that I saw that really surprised me because not during my meditation, but it was right about when I'm about to go to sleep, because meditation and sleeping go hand in hand. Because right before you go to sleep, you got to go through these, your body goes through these processes before your body literally shuts down. And then you go somewhere else. Your spirit goes somewhere else or something like that. And what I saw a being, right? Mm-hmm. But this being it resembled a bumblebee. But the thing is that this bumblebee had, I'm sorry to say, it was curvy, like literally it was a female. She had breasts, she had curves and everything, because I remember for whatever reason, a vision comes in front of me and I see a whole bunch of people walking by. And then I see this one, as far as this one being that's walking that had wings in the back and had some type of antennas. So when the person actually went and looked at me, I saw that it resembled like an insect, but it was a humanoid insect, literally. And it aroused me because I was like, wow, this is the most beautifulest woman being that I've ever seen besides a human woman, and that was an interesting face that I saw. Another face that I saw, I remember one time that, and it had me laughing. And that's the reason why I tell people the disclaimers that they have to be very careful because it'll scare you. It was like I saw it was like a weird face, right? And it was doing this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then I thought to myself, I started to laugh because it was funny. So then next day, then when I woke up, I was like, hold on a minute. That's a little bit weird, because what essentially looked like the thing was doing was that it was attacking my spirit body or whatever it is, trying to get in, but it couldn't because it's indestructible. Your soul is eternal. Once people find out that, the reason I say that your soul is eternal is because throughout my spiritual journey, I came across Robert Monroe. Have you guys heard of Robert Monroe? Mm-hmm. From the Monroe Institute? He is this, he wrote Journeys of Out of Body. So essentially, he wrote about his experiences during the 50s and 60s, about him journeying out of body. So essentially, he would go to sleep and then he would do something that his soul will be able to leave its body, and then he would go to different dimensions and whatnot. And then by me listening to him had woken up my mind's eye as far as Egypt is concerned. Because if you look at history, there's certain cultures that specialize in certain things, like the Mayans with the mathematics of the universe, as far as how long it takes for essentially our solar system to revolve around the Milky Way, which is like 26,000 years or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, they had the Mayan calendar, and then they also are very very well versed in astrology, like Mayan astrology.
Exactly.
The Mayan calendar, you know. And I don't know if Brenda told you, but I'm an astrologer, so I'm very much into all aspects of it. And like you mentioned, Egypt, and even going into the ancient Babylonians, like these are all collectively cultures that knew the secrets of the cosmos, thousands, even going back a millennia, you know what I mean? So it's like now we're just in a modern state, in the contemporary world. Now we're just starting to scratch the surface, where back then it was a way of life. So that's what's really interesting about it. It's like they made so many strides back then, and I feel like now we're a little too, I guess, technologically dependent to really tap in. Like people have to now decide whether they want to do this. But I feel like now the benefit of the technological era is that there's things within reach, like there's YouTube. You can look up meditation videos like those in your page, and there's books you could attain, and all kinds of things within your reach, where back then it was more at a grassroots level, and just really connecting with nature, or people such as scribes and things like that, like elders and people that had the tools. Now it's within your reach, so that's the only benefit. But I feel like now it's like you have to make the time, you have to decide if you want to go down this path, because there's so many distractions nowadays. So yeah, we're touching on the phenomenon now. Have you had like psychic phenomenon with that, like seeing past, present, future, like precognitive sort of experiences?
No, I haven't. Now, before I answer the question, can I at least finish my point?
Oh yeah,
the reason why that I brought up Robert Monroe. No, because the reason I brought up Robert Monroe is because he was basically the person that had me thinking that Egypt and all the stuff that they did, as far as spiritually, that what they did was for real. Like in one of the Egyptian folklores, there was this pharaoh, and his name is Thoth. But have you heard of Thoth, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the first. Yeah, he's supposed to be the first person that was able to transcend death, meaning that what he did was essentially the same thing that all the other pharaohs had done previously, except what he was able to do was that he was able to go into the spirit realm and essentially make himself immortal by escaping the realm that he's in. So
Egyptians have been very
very advanced.
More than
when it comes to spirituality.
They were very, very in tuned, and that was the word I was looking for, in tune with spirituality, because they even wrote the Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
With expectations on how to protect spirit by traveling to the underworld. So the Egyptians have always been very open with spirituality, and as far as that fourth or fifth dimension world, like they knew that we were on a third dimensional plane, and that's the most interesting part about it. This is a civilization before Christ that already knew about third dimension, realms and fourth dimension realms, only because of what they left behind, the treasures that they left behind. And I'm not talking about the gold and the rubies and gems. I'm talking about the actual books of writings and teachings of life after death.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because in one of his videos, and I usually use him as an example that makes me believe that the stuff that the Egyptians were doing was in fact for real. He essentially said in one of his lectures was that if you believe, you have to believe that your soul is eternal in order for you to get to that next level of spirituality. Because if you don't, then what's going to happen is that when you die, you cease to exist. And I was blown away by when he came out and said that.
Right.
It reaffirmed my love for the meditation and for the stuff that I've learned throughout these years. I know that we haven't touched about angel numbers, but angel numbers had came up to me like about 5 years now. I've been seeing double digits, triple digits, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But we could go in on that.
It doesn't matter.
That's a whole other episode.
Topic.
It doesn't matter what, it was incredible. The way that it happened was I was working for a company, and I noticed that when I looked at the clock, it was 111. So I didn't say anything about it. Second time I looked at the clock, it was 222. And I was like, okay, now this is a little bit weird right now, because it's thinking scientifically, you're not going to be seeing 222 and 111 at the same. But what really broke the camel's straw was when I saw 333. And then ever since then, that's all I've been seeing everywhere that I go. Doesn't matter. I see it every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now,
no, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, because I was going to say, now, what was the question that you had asked before?
Well, now you just opened up a whole other door, because I was asking about just basically because we were talking about the Egyptians and things like that. So what's interesting about Thoth in particular, like you mentioned Thoth, I mean, the book of Thoth and Thoth is essentially the root of all divination. Like the way that we can be clairvoyant and see into the future or connect with the past, all of that started with Thoth and the book of Thoth. And then also Brenda mentioned the book of the dead. And the root of all of that and what the ancient Egyptians taught us is, our life is a transcendence. To learn how to transcend is to understand how to, really embody the fact that we're multidimensional beings.
Right.
And, what you teach is one of the major, aspects of that, is that confirmation. When you're teaching meditation, that's how we're able to see how multidimensional we really are. So, yeah.
It has to deal with the pineal gland, and the pineal gland is incredible, because you could go in any point of this earth and you would see symbols of the pineal gland. So this isn't something that people think that it's new age, but that it's the devil, so forth and so on. Because I will tell your listeners and YouTubers that get to come across this YouTube video, is that once you start to delve into this type of spiritual practice, you're going to come across a lot of other religions, because there are three big religions in the world: Judaism, Islam, and Catholicism. Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And when it comes to Christianity, they will consider the stuff that we practice as far as devil worshiping But I just want to let the person know that not to worry about those situations, because you will come across those high energetic people and you will be condemned. And my understanding of the whole spiritual practice and believing in the higher power is that there's no wrong and right way for you to praise the high almighty. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some religions that they will condemn you, and I don't condemn any other religion. Everybody has the freedom of it's basically free will. Mm-hmm. That's the world. That's the reality that we live in. So if they want to believe that, then they can go ahead and believe it. But I know deep down inside that that is not the case, because essentially what meditation is that you are trying to you're essentially working on yourself, understanding your body, stuff that makes you tick. Because once you start to meditate it, then you start to get the chakras lined up. Then you start to understand that your body, like Jesus had said, is practically a universe. Your body essentially has other living things within it. And once you're able to combine mind, body, and soul, you can move mountains. We already know throughout history, there's only been but a small percentage of people that were able to do that. Jesus Christ, Buddha, Thoth. But Thoth did it on another level.
What they call...
My man went to the ending of the universe. He went forwards, backwards. He didn't do what Jesus did or what Buddha did. He did it on another level, so to speak.
So would you say that the enlightenment, besides it being enlightening, in aspects of spirituality, it's also therapeutic because it helped you transgress from being a negative person to a positive person? So would you tell, people who are, in a state of mind like you were at one point, in a very down, negative situation, would you recommend them to start meditating because it changes not just the spiritual aspect, but it's therapeutic? So it changed the whole mindset, the whole mind frame.
Yeah, that's what I would have people to work on, and start to understand that we are not here for no reason. Because the scientists nowadays, they want you to believe that, you're born and then you die, and then there's nothing in between. You are here for a reason, and the reason is that you have to grow spiritually, And once people start to realize that they have an eternal soul, then they start to understand their power, and then they'll be able to navigate this reality that we're in. Because sometimes, I'm going to tell you, I'm not perfect. There are days that I get upset, I curse people out and whatnot. And sometimes life gets to you. But the beautiful thing about meditation is that it centers you to knowing that, you have the ability to essentially have things affect you or not affect you in your daily life. Like, for instance, what's going on in the world, part of the spiritual journey one must take is that they have to detach themselves from the media, which is stop watching the news, because the news is nothing but negativity. And if you really delve deeper and you start to go down the rabbit hole, conspiracy theories and whatnot, then you start to realize...
No, I think we lost him.
Oh, we lost him. No. I was like immersed in what he was saying too.
Yeah. So it's very interesting, the points that he came across with how we are our own, or we can be our own universe, only if we dive in deeper into, going into a meditative state and awakening to, spiritually.
Yeah, it sounds like his path primarily has to do with transformation
Right.
and transcendence, you know, what they call transformational meditation. And that's essentially, you know, why most people start. Most people start because they want to center themselves, like he said. And then what usually takes place is a form of transformation and transcendence. So yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're back. Had a bit of technical difficulties. Welcome back again. So yeah, we were just having an amazing conversation, and you just brought up some really good points, essentially about, you know, meditation being your connection with source, and however you correlate that, you know, whether it's God, Buddha, Allah, you know, essentially it's all the same thing, which is our connection to the Almighty, our connection to source, and us getting all the more closer to that understanding, and us essentially being the Godhead. You know, the teaching in the Bible does say that we're made in God's image, and that's because we're a reflection of God. We're a reflection of source. You know, and not for everybody that's watching that is not, you know, religious in any way, shape, or form, you know, but again, it has to do with, again, it being about your connection with source, however you identify that with. So that was a really amazing point, because I think so many times people want to attach dogma to meditation, and it's honestly beyond that. It's like beyond that. Religion's man-made, so it's beyond that concept. It's way bigger than that. So yeah. And I just want to
No, to answer your question, as far as if I seen anything throughout my meditation, any type of psychic or stuff, there are two ways for you to meditate, right? You meditate inwards or you meditate outwards. Now, I have done outward meditation, and what I was able to do was that I was able to see in my visions different planets, different technologies. I would see like mountains and stuff like that, stars, of that nature. And then when I go inward, I start to hear certain voices. Like, I'll give you an experience. A couple of weeks ago, when I was meditating, out of nowhere, I heard a voice that came out and said, Elizabeth, I can't live without you. And I'm like, Elizabeth? I don't even know any Elizabeth. And then he came out and said, Elizabeth, I love you. You know, these are the things that I would generally pick up when I'm meditating, especially around that area. I hear voices and whatnot, talking and whatnot. But other than that,
you're basically like tapping in.
Yeah,
I feel like when you're expressing that, it's like you're explaining, like wherever you are, you're like tapping into frequencies. It's like it's like a radio dial. Like you once you're in that meditative state, it's like, you know, it's like Sirius radio. Like you're picking up different stations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I know what that's like. Because that's happened to me, and I'm like just like, what the heck, you know? Yeah. So that's really interesting.
It's like for mediums, you know, when we sense things or even objects, you know, I've been able to pick up on pictures whenever you've sent me a picture of something, and I've been able to tap in, but I'm not just tapping into that. I'm also tapping to everything, even the surrounding. So I'm able to, you know, give you detailed visions and versions of what's going on. And that's basically what you're doing. You're tuning in. You've become a little, you know, an antenna. You become an antenna, basically. So you are picking stuff in and out.
And I gotta say that I've cheated because the way that I look at it is that when you meditate and you use, for instance, music enhances the meditation. So essentially, I've cheated my way through these certain levels, which is how I like to say it. It's not cheating, but at the same time, since we have the technology, then why not use this technology to be able to go through the stages of meditation? Because when I was going through my stages, I would get like little twitches of, you know, energy twitches. I even had this one that I will let the people know. There was this one time that when I was meditating, and I heard somebody say "fuck," and then after that, like the bastard or whomever went and like chopped half, like literally attacked me. So half of my body was like, I never felt this before. Yeah, it was like I broke something from an entity that I had, and he was so upset that he wanted to attack me. When he attacked me, half of my body felt like I got cut. That was a weird experience. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would admit to being, physically attacked by entities then?
Well, it attacked me, and half of my body hurt it. Like it literally, like if it was a sword, like you know, Game of Thrones type of that
Right.
chopped a person in half. Well,
Right.
that's what the person or whatever did that to me, and it was scary. But at the same time, that didn't faze me or anything like that. So I just want to let everybody know that when you get into meditation, you will be going. It's not for the faint heart, and you will go through experiences.
Right.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, most definitely. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us today and for this really intriguing conversation. And you got to join us again for a part 2. We got to do this again because there's so much more to cover. You mentioned angel numbers, numerology. Like I said, that's a whole other conversation in itself, and so many other things. So before we go, I just for the audience, how can they get a hold of you for services or coaching, or just getting a hold of you for anything?
Well, they can go on. I have a YouTube channel. You could go on to Manifest in Meditative State. You type it in, and you can go to my YouTube channel. I also have a Facebook page for Manifest in Meditative State. They can go on there and they can get me through there. They can also go to my website, manifestinmeditativestate.com. And I also have an Instagram page, and I also have a TikTok page. I haven't worked on the TikTok page. I've been generally focusing my energies on my Instagram as well as my Facebook page. But they could definitely contact me through those venues of platforms.
Awesome. So thank you again for joining us. This was really enlightening, and I enjoyed it very much. And for everybody that's watching, again, like, comment, share your experiences with us during meditation. What was it like for you? Or if you have any questions for our guests, please drop them down in the comments, guys. So so we're just going to leave it here. And again, there will be a part 2, most definitely. So, all right, guys, until next time.
And we will see you next week. And next week we'll do some readings.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The readings will be back. All right,
definitely
guys.
Looking forward to that. I greatly appreciate you guys' time and energy. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And you guys enjoy the rest of your week. And happy meditations.
Yes. All right, guys.
Peace out.
Take care.